having me. I appreciate it.
So with such a resounding defeat and still some major obstacles, how far apart would you say the two sides are?
Well, if we go back to a week from last Sunday night, the deal was there. It was quite close. The college council chose to stop bargaining. They called a press conference on that Monday morning, and they exercised their option for one forced vote, and they put in some concessions back in that. And when the workers learned what was in it, they just, of course, their answer was a resounding no. So we were there close then. Our team is here at the hotel in Toronto, ready, willing, and able to bargain. We have a meeting with the Premier and then Minister Matthews at 1:30. We're hoping to have them exert some pressure on the College Council to get them back to the table. And we truly think that if the employer comes back in, okay, you know, we had agreed to items, so let's hash out the last one or two. We think a deal can be done in a couple hours.
Well, and at that meeting with the Premier, and she said she wants to find a solution to this, and I believe she used the word immediately. One of those options, because she said that all options will be on the table, could be back to work legislation. Then what?
Well, I would ask her just to give the process a chance for today. I mean, the employers had a resounding rebuke, right? I mean, they've just suffered a horrible loss if you're sitting in their shoes. So I'd ask her to give us today. They're the government. They're going to do what the government's going to do. I respect that. We'll respond as appropriate, I suppose. But if it's legislated back to work, so be it. We'll deal with the fallout of that. Or if it's, I think that we've talked internally. If the employer and the government's saying arbitration, we might look at that. Would depend on if agreed to items are agreed to before you go there. So there's lots of options open to the government here. But I do respect that, and I appreciate that they haven't interfered in the process to date. And legislation back interfering with the bargaining process, of course, is very problematic for the labor movement from a legal perspective. But again, I do respect that the government's got to do what it thinks it's got to do, and I would hold fair no ill will for that.
Right, and I think legislation, back to work legislation, has only been used once in terms of a college strike, and that was one that went, I think it was 18 days. Do you feel like you're losing the support of the students now?
No, I think the exact opposite is true. I think that the students are rightfully worried, they're rightfully upset, as are their parents and their families and friends. But I think that they actually, at the bottom of it all, they understand it. For every 10 calls I've had from students or family, one's been vehemently against us, sort of 8 just want to know the issues. And one is fully supportive. And when you explain the issues to people, they don't like it. Don't get me wrong, they don't like it. They want to be back in the class. But again, and I would, if I could just add, if the Premier was to introduce return to work legislation, that takes a day or two in the House. And so I think it'd be, let's give us today, give us tonight, overnight, if necessary, as long as it takes, try and get that deal before they go down the legislative route. And I'd say to the college presidents and the student associations, call those college presidents and say, listen, it's going to end at some juncture. When we get back in there, let us work with our professors and our teachers to salvage our term. Don't dictate how they do that. The people that do the work are the ones that know how to save it. They believe that they can save, the vast majority of it, that they can salvage it. It's still more hardship for students to come in terms of, going to lose a reading week and maybe some of the Christmas break. But our goal is to save the semester and not have anybody suffer any more harm than they've already suffered.
Well, we'll certainly be keeping in touch with all sides for that meeting this afternoon. Warren Smokey Thomas, thank you so much for your time.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate your interest.